It's become really clear to me recently just how damaging overthinking can be, especially for us over 40s. Whenever we set out to do something, a project, a piece of work, a new hobby, whatever it might be, we start to overthink. And then when we overthink, we become overwhelmed. And then we procrastinate. And then we end up not even starting or doing the thing that we set out to do originally. And then that leads us into a shame spiral, a guilt spiral that we're not good enough. We can't do it. We feel really bad for not being able to complete the thing that we set out to achieve originally. Now, I've been there and I still struggle with it. I really do. But if I hadn't have worked through it and discovered the truth around where that actually comes from, the root cause of it, then I wouldn't be able to be doing this, talking to you now, doing a YouTube channel, because I'd still be stuck in fear, procrastination and overthinking. So let's take a look at it. Let's explore that together, where that comes from and how we move through overthinking to get to ultimately where we want to be in our lives. So overthinking has really become a theme for me in my life. It always has been, but the last couple of years and certainly the last few months, it's come up for me really powerfully. So I want to share this just to create some kind of resonance, because I know if you're watching this and you're over 40, then you'll recognize this in yourself too. So I'm currently doing a couple of trainings. The first one is a 3-year training. It's called Being Me Therapy. So I'm learning about, it's rooted in developmental trauma, but I'm learning about how we can be more ourselves and what gets in the way of us doing that. And of course, whilst doing that, I'm working through my own stuff, and there's a lot of imposter syndrome, but there's a lot of overthinking that comes into it. We do practice where we do in groups or one-to-one. We practice where one of us is the client and one of us is the therapist. Now, it's framed around play and light and gentle and explore, but I can't help when I go into therapist of overthinking. I've got to do it this way. It's got to be right. It's got to be perfect. I have to stick to the sheet. Now, interestingly, the therapy is very open, or this modality is very open. It's explorative. It's not heady. It's not about getting people somewhere. It's about being inquisitive and curious. And what I've learned through doing it is there are so many different paths to take when I observe other people doing it, that it's crazy. Actually, when we don't overthink, when we do play, when we kind of make suggestions and get curious about things, what comes out of them. But still I'm stuck in that overthinking. So what is that about? And then I've recently started another training to help me build my YouTube channel, and more so with the people that are on it. You know, they're overthinking their message, how they should create their videos, what they should do, where they should position themselves. And interestingly, it's kind of more of the fluff around it as opposed to their core of what they need to do. It's almost a distraction. It's kind of shiny object syndrome. So where does it come from? What is overthinking? Well, let me know if you recognize this in the comments below. Let me know if you recognize this in you. Ultimately, overthinking is us believing, or a lack of belief, that we're good enough to be doing the thing that we want to be doing. So if I use the example of my YouTube channel, when I want to create a video, all of a sudden I get into my own head. I'm not good enough. There are other people out there better than me. Who wants to listen to me? What have I got to say? I ignore all my 10 years plus of experience in doing this work. That all falls out the window, and all of a sudden my imposter syndrome comes in. And then when I overthink, I become overwhelmed. This is too much, because obviously I'm piling all that crap on me. I become overwhelmed, and then that leads to procrastination. I go off and, it's Christmas time and recording this, so I go and eat loads of chocolate, or, make a coffee, or just, sit and scroll through social media. I just do anything other than the thing I set out to do, because it becomes too painful. And that, I think, is the key quality of this. When we overthink, it's painful because it brings up all our insecurities. It brings up all our fears. It brings up the voice inside us that says, you're no good, you're not worth it, you can't do this. And interestingly, that's my core message around helping the over 40s realise that they're not broken, that they're beautifully perfect, or beautifully enough, just as they are. And that's the key to actually working through overthinking or procrastination or stuckness or whatever it is for you. And again, let me know in the comments if this resonates with you. What's the word that you would use when you want to do something but just something blocks you? And I'm doing this because for me so my nervous system goes into a freeze. I'm like, I'm stuck, and then I just go off, as I say, to do something else. So what's the actual answer to help us get through that stuckness, through the procrastination and through the overthinking? Well, it's not in training your brain or trying a specific technique. This isn't heady work. I get really frustrated nowadays. I see a lot of gurus out there saying, you need to train your brain and all that crap. I think, you know, we're past, or we're very much modern new way of thinking is that this is not the overarching control system of the entire body. We have everything from the neck down. I'm looking just to make sure, yes, I have a body. We have a nervous system. If you've heard of somatics, polyvagal theory, all this is coming to the light. So this is not the answer. This is not the answer. It's acknowledging the body, what's going on, our feelings, our emotions, because once we process those, once we shift that stuckness, those trapped, stuck emotions, those old thinking patterns and adaptive mechanisms, then we can move forward. Then we feel free. And just talking now, I've shifted. I feel, just acknowledging that, I feel freer. So next time you set out to do something, next time you sit down to start a project or a hobby or whatever it is that you're stuck on, that you're procrastinating on, just instead of avoidance, instead of when those horrible feelings and emotions of I'm not good enough, comparison, or anything else comes up, just acknowledge it. Don't try and escape it. Don't try and distract from it. And it might hurt, it might be painful. These are old habits, these are old emotions that are trapped in our nervous systems. Just look at them and acknowledge them and be curious about them. And as I said, for me, it was ultimately, I did an exercise recently with my mentor, YouTube business coach, and he talks about 7 levels deep exercise. And on the top of it, you've got the top layer is kind of the procrastination. Oh, this is rubbish. I don't want to do it. I'm bored. But when you dig deeper, 7 levels deep, for me anyway, the root of my procrastination, my overthinking was I'm not good enough. When I dug deeper, I got the message I'm just not good enough. Anything, just as a human being, to be on this earth, I'm not good enough. So, of course, if that's my core belief, I'm never going to get anywhere in life, until I started working through it. But until I acknowledged that really painful feeling and saw that it wasn't true in the now, in the present moment, as an adult, when I saw that wasn't true, when I realized that, well, yeah, that belief's there, but actually, in the present moment, is that true? Well, no, because you are a nice human being. You care, you're compassionate, you're authentic, you're funny. I've got a dark sense of humor. And this isn't about me. This is an example for you because you're not broken. You are good enough. You are worthy. You are on this planet to do whatever it is that you want to do. Go big, go small, whatever it is, as long as authentically it's what you want to do, then that's perfect. But once you start looking at that stuckness, those fears, that comparison, whatever it might be, just get curious about it. And you can write down, just let the pen write, whatever comes up for you, just write it down. And what happens is those emotions then, as I said before, they become freer, they become less stuck. It's almost like I'm picturing something solid, concrete, just kind of crumbling away. And it reveals the truth of who we are. And this may sound wishy-washy, but what I'm talking about is modern day thinking around nervous system and early trauma and things like that. The days of, CBT, thinking that this controls everything, are long gone. We are an entire system, body, mind, spirit, and energetically as well. So to summarize, next time you feel stuck or you're procrastinating or you're overthinking, just take a second and just check what thoughts are going on, what are you thinking, what are you telling yourself. But more importantly, if you can, because some people can't do this, it sounds crazy, feel what emotions are coming up for you, what feelings are coming up for you. How's your body? Do you feel tight and constricted and frozen? Do you get an urge to just move and you want to be outside? I do. To get out of this stuff, I often physically have to move. I have to walk. I have to go outside. And just write those things down and start to get curious, because as soon as you start to get curious about what's actually going on for you, that's when you can move through this stuff. And you really can. 100%. I've done it. I've been there. And if you do struggle with fear and overthinking, then check out this other video up here, because I'm sure it will help you through it too. Have a beautiful day. Big love, John.